Fallout 4 decided to take perks in a different direction. Rather than having just perks you can select and a level requirement associated with that, now it's actually integrated with the special tree. At first, a lot of people were really on the fence about this, but now as time has passed, I think it's really grown on a lot of people and become a fundamental of the game that we'll probably see continued. With that being said, there's still some pretty bad perks in there. In today's video, I basically want to show you what are in my eyes 5 utterly useless perks on the special tree, or things that have huge handicaps, making them really unappealing to use. Obviously, this goes without saying, it is all my own opinion. I can almost guarantee you will disagree with at least one of my decisions on this list. It's also in no specific order. The last one isn't the worst and the first one isn't the best out of the worst. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Start things off, we have the level 2 of Aquaboy. Aquaboy in its first level is a fairly useless perk, but not totally useless. Aquaboy level 2 sounds kind of interesting. You become totally undetectable while submerged. Fallout 4 has a lot of water. It's kind of all over the map, and Aquaboy in general seems like it would be a useful thing for that reason. But as you play through the game, you will quickly realize that you don't actually interact with any of this water most of the time. A majority of this game takes place off of the coast, and there's really not much to do around the coastal areas. There are definitely some quests taking place over there, but as far as combat goes, it's very rarely going to be even available to you to jump into the water and have enemies no longer detect you. Even beyond that, it's not all that useful. I mean, yes, maybe sneaking back up on enemies, getting that sneak bonus could be a cool benefit, but oftentimes with how dumb that Fallout 4 AI is, you could just run away and then come back a little bit later without having to jump into the water. For that reason, I definitely think Aquaboy in itself, and especially Aquaboy level 2, is something you could pass up. Then we do have Vans, or at least Vans level 1. Vans is a perk you get really early on in the game. You only need 1 level of perception, and I imagine a lot of people actually take it right off the bat. A lot of those people will probably instantly regret that decision, because after getting Vans, all you can do is now hold down the VATS key to actually get this highlighted trail to your quest marker. So maybe on some of those super confusing quests, it is kind of convenient to have this. But how often do those actually occur? I would say in 98% of my experience playing through Fallout 4, the quest marker was almost too generous, making it too similar to actually discover where things were going on. And even beyond all that, you could just easily look up a guide online. Having to spend one of those valuable perk points, especially at the early levels, on Vans is a total waste, and definitely is going to be much better spent on something else. Then we do have Rad Resistant. All levels of this perk are pretty useless. Each subsequent level is going to give you 10 additional Rad Resistance, so at level 4 you will have 40 Rad Resistance. Alright, so it's going to be cool some of the time. Maybe if there's a weather type adding in rads, or you're walking through a slightly irradiated area, you'll no longer get any effect from this. But at the same time, that's going to require a few perk points in this. Perk points, as I mentioned before, are very valuable in Fallout 4, and this is assuming that you don't just pop a Radaway or a Rad X. Two highly abundant items. Towards the end of the game, you'll probably start to ignore them. With how widespread those items are, it really doesn't make any sense to put perk points into this perk, especially considering you're going to have to put a number of points to actually get any good effect out of it. What Basher is going to do is actually increase the amount of damage you deal from bashing people with your weapon. So the real reason this is worthless is because it will never do more damage than a melee weapon, and honestly, it never even comes close. As you can see in this video, I'm doing next to nothing to these enemies, but the second I take out a melee weapon, even one empowered attack will almost one-shot them, because I've also put perk points into big leagues, which increases the damage of melee weapons. Maybe once in a while, if you have an enemy that's super low health, having a point or two on Basher will actually finish them off, but it'll almost never be better than just switching to a melee weapon. And considering how easy and quick it is to do that with hotkeys and things like that in Fallout 4, I don't know why anyone would ever put points into Basher. Some of these other perks have like a silver lining or a super specific case scenario, but this one is truly useless. I couldn't even think of one instance where I'd be like, yeah, that's worth it. And last but not least, we have Night Person level 2. The reason this perk isn't really all that ideal is actually one of the added benefits from it, or quote-unquote benefits. The main part of this perk is actually pretty useful. You now have +3 intelligence and perception between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. That's pretty good, but it also adds in night vision when sneaking all the time. So anytime you sneak now, you get that washed out, ugly night vision effect. If it's dusk and only a little bit dark out, you will get that night vision effect, and in my eyes, it actually makes enemies harder to see. There's so many times after getting this perk or putting a point into this that I became so frustrated while also using a sneak character build. It immediately becomes obvious that the perk itself isn't worth it because these night vision in Fallout 4 is so crappy. There's a ton of other mods doing this even better than what vanilla Fallout 4 does, and I imagine that's going to be something a lot of people download. So yeah, we're just going to wrap it up for this list. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. As always, again, and thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.